So this is at the beginning.
Okay, so we'll walk up. We'll walk
of the
up
Beech
this
Avenue, a very, very fine beech avenue. The average tree here would be coming on to 4 meters, some of them,
Okay.
in circumference. This is a very important and unique feature to Macroom domain. It's a double rank. Now a double rank, it wasn't Capability Brown, although there's a lot of his signature is on this estate.
Okay.
A lot of the thinking. But the main avenue facing the main door of the early Norman castle,
Which would have been just over here.
straight in
A few
front,
hundred meters over here.
the
Yeah.
double rank marches to the door of the castle,
Right.
straight in front of us.
And when you say double rank, could you just explain that to us?
Yes, on
What
the
does- what does-
the inner rank is beech,
Okay.
English beech, brought to Ireland in the 1670s. The first nursery in Ireland was in the domain of Lord Wicklow, the Earl of Wicklow, in Shelton Abbey near Arklow. And from there, this brand new English tree called the beech was distributed throughout the domains and parks.
Yeah.
So the inner rank is beech. They're now over mature.
Okay.
And the outer rank are
Yeah.
intermediate leaved lines.
We just see some of these here.
There are some lines
Yeah.
there, but a very, very good example is over here.
a good long row of them here.
A good long row of them there.
Yeah.
They're, interestingly, to the west they're healthy. To the east we're losing them.
Right.
They're gone very, very gappy. I would say out of over 70 beech, because I knew this site years ago.
Yeah.
Out of about 70, there's now probably 15 of the large beech trees left.
Okay.
It's too wet for beech. They're
Yeah.
beyond their range in Ireland.
Okay.
They are native to 2 places in England. After the Ice Age, they established in East Anglia and in southeast Wales. So by them being brought to Ireland by the English plantation, they tend to disintegrate in many cases before they're 200.
Okay.
But here, they are planted from the late 1760s, maybe 1770s. They have reached their optimum. Nothing can be done with them. The trustees have talked of recreating the double rank. Very, very difficult. The current thinking is managed decline of veteran trees for the sake of the saprophytic and saprophytic ecology.
Yeah, I think we were talking earlier on as well, Ted, about obviously about live trees and the diversity that they support. But the other point I think you were making was that actually dead trees should be left in situ because they support even more biodiversity. Can you tell us a bit about that then?
Yes, well, a dead oak, a dead Irish oak, common or sessile or intermediate, supports greater than 2,000 invertebrates.
2,000?
Yeah, whereas the standing oak supports about 264.
So by a factor of 10 times
Yes.
the biodiversity.
Yes, but also one of the least researched areas at this time are the decomposer fungi.
We look like we have some...
Yeah,
some
the decomposer fungi. And this tree is passed over. This is a dead tree, it's a dead beech.
beech, is it? Yeah.
Dead beech. It snapped. About 10 years ago it snapped. The entire crown was wind blown
Yeah.
and thrown into the other side of the avenue.
But
So what's going on
Yeah.
inside
Could you
this
just tell us
tree?
about what we have here? Because it seems a number of different species here. Can you just...
Okay, they are what we call saprophytic fungi. They are agents of decay. Honey fungus, which I don't see here, can come in and attack a stressed tree and kill that tree
Okay.
by severing the feeding roots. Now, these are the fruiting bodies. These are all the fruiting or flowering bodies
Yeah.
with roots buried deep inside the rotting timber.
Okay.
This tree most likely, we'd have to get up to discover, which I haven't done. This tree most likely is hollow. Trees tend to hollow.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that they're in any danger. I've seen a JCB with more difficulty trying to remove a hollow oak than a healthy, intact oak.
Yeah.
So this is, firstly, this one here is...
This one here is quite a spectacular one, isn't it? Yeah.
We know it as the beefsteak.
The beefsteak.
The beefsteak fungus.
Yeah.
Fistulina hepatica. Fistulina hepatica. Further up, another example of it.
There's a huge one right at the top.
There's a huge one right up the top. Now, these, I would call these Inonotus. These again are engaged in releasing chemicals. Decomposer fungi they're chemotrophs. They don't act by moon or sunlight. They're impervious to photosynthesis.
Okay.
These don't live in a world of light or dark. They live in a chemical world.
Yeah.
So they release chemicals. The chemicals puncture, rather the mycelium of the fungi enter into the heart, or they're systemic. They enter up through the wood as it rots and decays. We would call them endo, as distinct from ecto.
They're on the surface of the tree.
Like a lichen, they're epiphytic.
They're not
Rather, they're
penetrating.
epiphytic. These are endophytic.
So they're sending these threads into the tree.
Yes, or the threads rather have burst out into flower.
Okay.
In the sexual phase, and to release spores. So what these are doing is they're reducing lignin, hard lignin. Nature does not like, in the living world, nature disapproves of hard substances.
It's constantly trying to break them down into
Constantly
component
trying
parts,
to
is it?
redistribute the minerals, recycle, return. It's called remineralization. This is what these are doing. They're returning the nutrient of the hard timber, the fruits of 300 years of photosynthesis, down in through the roots. Masses of food is prepared, and the fruits of these fungi, the fruits of their effort, is then added to the woodland food network, the mycorrhizal feeding zone.
Okay. So they're redistributing and recycling that mineral. So it's a kind of like a self-contained system. They're recycling.
Correct. They're self-contained. I think we have about 3,000 fungi in Ireland. These are the most interesting of them all. This is a different one here. This one here is also decomposer. We've seen also that there's now at least 2 bumblebee nests here.
There's a good number, yeah.
And one entering there, and I saw one just coming out of there.
You might have one over there as well.
So this is a different shape again. It's bract.
Yeah.
These are bract fungi. Bract fungi invariably tend to be decomposer.
Okay.
And these are bracts, and a beautiful feel to them. That again is one of the, not the beefsteak.
Feel like skin, don't they?
Feels like skin.
And
feels
cold,
like
cold
skin.
to the touch.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. They don't warm up. They're impervious, as I say, to photosynthesis and sunlight. They like shade. Now there's a different variety there again,
Over here.
feeding on the root system.
Yeah.
These are slightly different again, related to this bio, but there are different species of bract decomposer.
Doing the same job though.
Doing the same job. Doing the same job. And as these progress their work, by the way, that is a sycamore.
A sycamore.
Large sycamore.
Okay.
This is a beech.
Okay.
As they do their work, and as the fibrous roots are dissolved chemically and fed into the mycorrhizal system, the soil falls back into place. So in a few years' time, there would be nothing there.
And I suppose just back to the point we made it at the start of this piece, it's actually important to leave these fallen trees, these dead trees. They're certainly not dead because they're actually exploding with life.
Yes.
It's really important to leave them where they are, to give this regeneration, recycling process.
Absolutely. If we're serious about biological diversity, the woodland, this is the pantry of the woodland. This is where the nutrients are being refreshed and recycled. So it's very, very important, and I'm really pleased that we can praise the trustees. They're not obsessed with straight lines and cleanliness.
Yeah.
And
which seems to be the modern obsession with order, cleanliness, tidiness. We're certainly not helping nature by that sort of approach to it, are we?
No,
we're working against it.
We have to. It's a mindset we have to develop. We have to move from the culture of death to a civilization of care, almost.
It's the largest of the beech, you're saying there.
This is the largest in girth and volume of the line of beech. And of course, behind us, again, reminding us that we're in a double rank. The middle-leaved line is neither small nor large, it's the one that's not native to Britain. The small-leaved line is a native to Britain. We have no limes in Ireland, they never made it after the Ice Age. The land bridges had already melted. And of course,
hollowing out a bit,
huge hollowing. Yeah. All of these veterans, they're all hollow. And there is badger activity here, but there's also owl activity.
Yeah, we've seen badger activity.
And there's also, importantly, a number of lesser horseshoe maternity roosts in this area.
Okay.
There's also, I've detected and seen, the long-eared bats. So there's a good few bats around here because they feed on moths and they like old woodland. All of Ireland's native bats are associated somewhere with woodland. But here we have a sycamore seedlinged in.
Very close to this beech, isn't it?
Very, very close to this beech.
Yeah. And surrounding it as you look up as well.
And surrounding it.
Yeah.
And I just hope they have found a symbiosis, a mutuality. Although I was saying sycamore is alleliopathic.
Okay.
It's alleliotrophic.
So when you say alleliotrophic, it's can you just explain that briefly as well then?
Ferns, many ferns, bracken has it intensely. They have in their little suitcase of survival mechanisms, adaptations.
Yeah.
The sycamore can release, as does walnut, toxins.
So they release toxins, and that's
in the form of superglyphosate, in the form of high growth promoting hormones, driving other plants in competition mad to the point of explosion.
Okay.
Yeah. I won't use the word. Is bulimic where you can't stop eating?
Bulimia is eating and purging. Yeah.
Is there a condition where you simply cannot stop eating? Like the Romans had their vomitaria.
Yeah.
So what the alleliopaths, the active chemicals in the sycamore is just that it drives the competition.
So they grow so fast they're not viable basically. Is that?
They're not viable and they die back. They give in. Whereas in this case, that's not happening.
They seem to be getting on.
They have found a mutuality. And I'm so glad. I was just saying, this is the healthiest and probably will be the last survivor of the Cromwellian, of Ireland's last great Cromwellian beech avenue, the double rank.
Okay.
There's still loads and loads, another 100 and more metres that way and a couple that way.
And what significance would falconry have had in the culture at the time?
Falconry was big among the Cromwellian adventurers. We read in Elizabeth Bowen's Bowen Court the importance of falconry to her ancestor, the Cromwellian officer, the first Bowen to come into Ireland, placed in Kildorrery by Cromwell.
Okay.
Falconry was a symbol, it was a status symbol.
Right.
Again, I mentioned earlier propter decorum. The loyal colony was expected to behave in a certain fashion, possibly to emphasise the distinction between the indigenous Irish, who practiced falconry as well, by the way.
Yeah.
We know Brown law, going right back, describes the rules of the falconry. But certainly the man who acquired this property, he was a director of the Hollow Sword Blade Company, Robert Hedges. He was very keen in falconry.
Okay.
He came in 1707. And although we also know that Oliver de Laune enjoyed to watch falconry being practiced here. So the falcon, the pigeons, the quarry, the pigeons were released up the double rank, and the falcons were released, and it was one of the recreations or pastimes of quite a wealthy, privileged class. But avenues, not only for falconry, we look at Cong Abbey up on Lough Carib.
Yeah.
And we see one of the oldest yew avenues in Christendom.
Okay.
And that Cong monastery happens to be beside Ashford Castle, which was built and owned by Lord and Lady Ardlawn, Olive and her husband Arthur Guinness. They had no children. She had developed an aversion to alcohol, and she got Arthur to sell his shares, and therefore they had huge wealth. For example, they had a permanent cabin of their own on the mail boat from Dunleary to Holyhead.
Permanent.
They had a permanent carriage or part of a carriage on the railway track to London. No, they didn't go by railway. She had a series of stables. She and Arthur owned a series of stables between Holyhead and the Royal Court of Hampton.
Okay.
And she would change her horses perhaps every, 8 hours?
Okay.
Whatever. So fresh flowers brought from her own private domains were placed in her cabin on the Holyhead boat, on the mail boat, and brought to her house in Regency Square in London. So there was huge wealth there. She, but as I say, she died childless and died really borderline. There is a manic depression there. She had withdrawn utterly into St. Anne's Park, Raheny. So avenues were symbols. They would have had, in Masonic terms, there would have been deep meaning or symbolism. A lot of these landlords were Masons. They were in the Masonic lodges.
The setup and the diameter,
Exactly.
the proportions would have been significant.
The mathematics, the arithmetic, the geometry, the Euclidean approach. So we know that Macroom Castle was quite as was Doneraile and other great houses in North Cork. They were all very Masonic. By Masonic, I mean benign. I don't mean what we now understand to be Orangism in Northern Ireland. That is a strange form of Masonics.
I suppose sinister and clandestine would have been when a lot of people hear Masonic, they're the kind of things that come to mind. But you're saying that's not necessarily the case in what you're saying.
Oh no, Cork Masonic lodges are open to the public every Heritage Week.
Yeah.
I know a number of people who've become initiated, and
that's right, the city centre, of course, isn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of charities. I support quite a number of I'm not a Mason, but I am available to help walks. The Teddy Bear charity is an example.
Okay.
Strongly supported. The Jack and Jill Foundation is strongly supported by the Cork Masons. So avenues like this, they're now very rare.
Yeah.
And I think that we are the last to see that